Okay, that determines the server that you go to and the version of the software that's being used.
Okay.
So this is quite important. I'm sorry this was to start off so geeky, but it's quite an important sort of thing as to what's going on. The one that in general you should be going to is EdgyGeo.host.
Okay, so that's the US server site, right?
Exactly, and that's where you're going to get the best performance generally.
Okay.
And what that is, I'm going to post that in there. So that's your go-to for the admin. Okay, that's your sort of, if you were going to bookmark any URL, that's the one to bookmark I've just sent you. Okay, now I'm going to use here nextbase.host because that's faster for me here. But it's all the same data. Everything we're doing affects that. It's all connected. Whether I use UAT, so if I type nextbase-uat.net, that's our beta site where we test new features and so forth before pushing them across to the URL that you've got. But it's all the same data. So any changes made in either the beta version or that one, it's all the same place effectively. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to go and I'll just use the UAT. Anything that's slightly different may be accountable by the fact I'm using a beta rather than your one, which is production. And there will be changes and updates that will happen on a almost a weekly basis to production that get tested through UAT first and then go to production. So your account, there's a bunch of these are just demo project views. So the project view that we've set up for you initially is for this demo. It's called demo.
Right.
And so there's this URL. So if I go to different ones, you'll see how that URL changes.
Okay.
So if we found a crash, if there's some crash, that's a good place to set up a, if you find some problem, you can set it up in that view. This is your main, view to show people and work with. And you can set up as many new project views as you like. Test 1, Test 2, Lawrence 1, Lawrence 2, just add away. And every time you add one, you get a new URL there.
Yep.
So I'm going to, just make sure we've got nothing else showing. So I click on that, and we click there, and that will open up the more familiar environment here. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So the two are fundamentally linked by that is this is the administrative, settings for this demonstration environment. Okay, so if we start off here and we look at what we've got, so in this overall account, so up here is your account NKF, and that might be we can set up the multiple accounts, NKF Phoenix, NKF Los Angeles, that's
right.
So you basically per admin license you get one of these accounts. And within that account you have as many project views and things as you like currently. You've got the dashboard, which says that I've got 30 different entity types. I've got 1.4 million entities in here. I've got 5 project views. There are 52 different bookmarks set up. There are 1,258 files of all kinds, and the data storage used is 1.9 gigabytes. And there's 15 admin users. That's our internal developers and so forth that have access to this account to help you. Yep.
Yep.
Data sources in. There's currently a beta of DMP parcels and OpenStreetMap streaming buildings. We can potentially in future connect other data sources. These are live data sources, externally. And probably don't need to go a lot into this at the moment because most of your stuff is going to be statically added, manually. But later on, as we can talk more about some of the things going on in future in data sources that are dynamic for you. But then we have, I'll jump straight down to entity types. So this is just a reminder. So in here, this is where, you have the things. We talk about a thing management system. So we have things. So we have a thing is a traffic research point from ASDOT. We have a bikeway from Maricopa and Penal. We have a building footprint from Bitmore. We have a building, we have a car park, we have a desert park, we have a DMP parcel, we have a floor of a building, we have a Gilbert footprint. Now, there's some argument, for example, let's have a look at a Bitmore footprint. Yeah. So
yep.
In this, we have a data schema, and this is the current schema for that footprint, which says its identity ID, its object ID, which has come from the incoming data, what county it's in. Maybe we want to show that, so we'll turn that on now, so we can now see that in the GIS UI when we touch on a building footprint. It'll say the county, the shape, the length, data about, so we don't need to see that information. So the fact that there's a little I cross means that we don't see that attribute in the in the main user interface. Is that understandable?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can turn that on and off later. And we also have more control over what you see in summary forms and all that sort of thing later as well. So we'll talk about that. So we see that that's the structure for a Bitmore footprint. And I can't even remember when these were brought in, but if I go into Gilbert footprint, and sometimes we have to close and reopen here, Gilbert footprint, you'll see it has the same structure. So these, in fact, arguably should be the same thing, type of thing, where we add, the same data to the same thing.
Right.
So, but someone has decided, and that's okay, that they'll bring them in as different object types. But it's something that, requires thinking, like what are the things that we care about within our world, of real estate to manage? So these are just some conceptual, there's no right answer. It's just, now the things that we have set up for you that we care about are buildings, and the car parks, that type of thing. Let me just hit the refresh. Yeah.
Now, in this data schema, is there, say that sometime in the future we decided on particular attributes in the data schema that we want shown. Is there a way to make that like a template for all other, say, footprints when we bring them in, so that we don't have to go through separately each footprint that we bring in and redo the data schema? Is there like some sort of way to streamline that process?
So you're saying that if, for example, for a building,
right.
We go, let's have a look at the data schema for a building. The data schema for a building. So it's quite big and long.
Right. So say we weed that out and say we only want 10 of those, the attributes here that are listed to be shown when you click on a building, right? Is there a way to then say, okay, so for every other building that we're going to bring in now, we really only need to show those 10. So when it shows up here in the data schema, those 10 are going to be visible and everything else is going to be hidden.
Yes, absolutely. And there's multiple ways of control there. It's more. So let's have a look at this. So let's have a look at the situation. A building is a good example. So we have a building concept, and this building schema, has essentially come from the first time that we imported buildings from your listings, from what are originally, I believe, CoStar listings.
Right.
Okay, so if you excuse me, just I want to ask you a couple of questions about that before we go deeper, because this is at the core. So do you pay for and get CoStar listings, say, monthly? Do you?
So yeah, so we definitely have a subscription for that.
Yeah.
And I'm not exactly sure where they get their their listings from, whether we supply it to CoStar or whether CoStar has a repository that they scrape. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but we definitely have a subscription to CoStar for sure.
Right. So because at some point, the data for these listings needs to be added into the system. Yeah.
Right.
And so we just need to work out the workflow. So one, you can enter this data yourself from the spreadsheets. We can show you how to do that. We can do it for you if you send us the data. So we can do it for you as a service. And if you send it to us, would you be sending us the Newmark data and the general CoStar data, or would you just probably send us the CoStar data and then we add that?
Well, I'd say it probably would be listing data, the current listings, and then maybe the CoStar data as well, if that makes sense.
Right. So you'd send us both, and we'd combine it together. Right. So a question initially about that is, would you like us to be adding that as a service, monthly to start off, but be training you how to do it yourself? How would you like that to work?
I think initially it would be easier to have kind of a more streamlined process, but going forward, it doesn't sound that complicated to do manually.
No.
So I don't think I would have a problem handling that legwork. It's just once I get more up to speed on the software itself and being able to kind of do it more proficiently instead of having to worry about more of the back end stuff. So once I get a little bit more proficient in the workflow, then I wouldn't have a problem doing more of the manual aspects, I don't think.
Great. Okay. Yeah. So that's, and we can do that. So we have, a workflow today which will bring in. So if you provide us that data, we can put the first slot in, and then we can walk you through exactly how that was done, so that you can replicate it yourself going forward. So yeah, I'll show you a bit of the process here today, and then we'll use the next sort of round of data for the next month to go through with that. So let's look. So this data came in, and in the data, and this was CoStar, data. It had all of, these are the attributes. Now, in them, not all of these are filled in. Some of them are blank. They don't have data. But this was the list. So your question about visibility. So the first level of visibility is controlled here in the admin. So everything where I have this highlighted with an eye, green eye, means that it will be visible in this UI. Let's just refresh that. We had some weird internet things with the California fires today, Lawrence. Just went through with Kevin. Depending on where you are in the world at the moment, Amazon is having some glitches.
Right.
It's but it seems largely okay. I think they're getting it all sorted out now. But so if we see, this is an admin. This is what a building's data looks like. So if I click on this building here, I'm going to use Control Click to click on that building. All right. So Control Click is kind of the go-to selection method. That you're guaranteed to bring up this full info panel about something. So you hold Control and you click on the mouse. Now you'll see here that we have all of this data about the Camelback Tower. Some of it's there, some of it's not. Yeah.
Right.
So the list that we see here is controlled by what's visible here. So if I turn that off, let's turn off last contact date. Okay, and save that. Okay, and we'll look here and we'll see last contact date. Here we are. So now I'm going to close that down, and I know I probably need to refresh that. Well, let's try and see whether I need to refresh it. No. We don't even need to refresh it. It's gone. See?
Nice.
Last contact data is gone. And if I turn it back on, and save. You'd look for that message. In admin, generally, I'd save and close, and you sometimes have to save each blade, separately, if that makes sense. So that save only applies to the last blade. So sometimes it's not a global save yet. It's just a little watch out. Sometimes you think you saved something and you haven't. So look for the messages. If in doubt, just save, close it and save again. So now we'll close it down and control. And last contact date is back. I don't know why it says 12, but now in here you can either change this, so 12, 19, and save, and that data saved. Log in. Okay, I'll have to check why it might be my login. I can't do that there. But so that data there is how we look at that information. But you see, if I just click on it, I get this form.
Yeah.
And in this form is a summary. It's just the 10 things I want to know. Now you can choose what's in here. So what controls what comes up in this pop-up form, and when this pop-up form comes up is controlled in here. So for a building, that's all of the data there, that's possible. But when I go to custom forms, you see custom forms here?
Yeah.
Custom forms says I can build new custom forms for this building and that control when to display them. So this says on left click, show auto form for building. On right click, show the default info panel. Double click, show the PDF listing report. PDF export, I can have another PDF listing report, no action, whatever, so what is the export of PDF? Is that, am I making sense? So in here, so if I want a new form, so let's have a look at the form. So currently left click is auto form for building. That just happens to be a default name. We could change that. So we'll actually go in here. And so I'm clicking on that form, and let's call the form, we'll call it building summary pop-up. Might be a more recognizable name. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Save. So now, and this is a case of where, I need to save twice just to see that change. So now that's there. And we close that. So if I go to custom forms again, we get building summary pop-up. So let's go to building summary pop-up and have a look.
I have a question. Is the header here that says building in the red? Is there a way to show, instead of it saying building, is it can the property name be the header instead of it just saying building? Because we know it's a building when we click on a building. We don't need to have it say building.
Well, we could take that out. We could edit it and just remove that altogether.
But I don't think we need the field name, like the property name, say, property name, then the property name. We just want the property name shown, if that makes sense. We don't need the field, name in addition. Right. So it would, if it could just show like Camelback Tower and the street address without it being parsed out like that.
Yes. At the moment, no. You can't, but that would be a change that we can certainly make for you. I can make a note of that. So this is the sort of thing we invite you to ask to make notes of such things, and that would be a fairly easy change. Which I'll just make a note of it now for you.
Right, because I know as far as marketing purposes, we want a simple, clean look, and we don't need the it gummed up with extraneous information.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly reasonable. So I'm just adding some notes as we go along here, and I don't see any any issue with that.
Great.
So. And sorry, it's got to. We've got this strange internet thing. So if anything goes wrong like this, you just, because of an internet connection thing, you literally just refresh, or start the host again, and it comes up. So nothing's lost. There's no. And so we've got some odd things going on in the world internet today. But so again, back in here. So there's your entity types, and let's go building, and we'll go custom forms and building summary. So it's all there. So let's go to building summary. So at the moment, no, I don't get the option to display or not display that. The actual description.
Right.
But I don't see any big change. So yeah, we'll add that to the request. Now in the form size, you can go automatic, and it'll try and figure it out. Generally, you're better to specify this here. The size and the height. So that's the size and the height of this thing. And if it's too wide or too small, it'll put scroll bars in. And so
right.
you might have a few goes at getting the optimal size that always fits the data. So when we go here, if you want to add or subtract things, so first of all, the background. So you can control the background color here. It's transparency, and you've got to change the text color as well. Okay. So that controls the look of that.
Right.
This controls the overall panel, so we can see that the background is a white with about a 90% opacity, and the text is black. Again, therefore by demo. Yeah. Click on it. We get, so that's what it looks like. Now, ideally, we would have a preview pop up in the custom forms here. Not quite completed. You've got to go to this URL to see it. But we need to have a little preview button that takes some sample data. And I'll put a reminder in on that. That's just one of those lists of to-dos in the preview. But this is how you create these custom forms, is through here. And you can see how you can add a new item.
Right.
So down here, and you can control by pane, you can add another pane, add a whole new section, that sort of thing, add a new item, a subsection, a data value, a piece of static text, a static image, an entity photo, put the more button in, which takes us to the full data. So if we put in a data value, it puts it in here, please select, so you click on it, and it gives us the list of all of the things that we might want to do. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's how we build up a custom form, and this is where we set its behavior, when does it pop up. In general, we recommend, have a systematic approach that always on left click, you have a summary, right click is the default info panel, double click, and this is, set up. These are just standards you can figure out for yourself.
Right.
Okay, so so you see in here also we can change, even though in the schema we're seeing that we have an identity. We're seeing this as a string, and we can have it. We can click on it, and we see that we have both an ID and an a key and a name.
Right.
So what that means is that for every one of these fields, the raw data coming in has got a key to it, and so, but at any time you can change the name of it. So, for example, the sub-market, is that what you would actually want to call it when you display it?
Yeah.
You would, okay. You'd call it sub-market constraint. So if any of these key names here because this is what the data has called it. If you want to change it to something else, for example, here, parcel hash, we could change that to parcel number.
Number, right. Yep.
So for display purposes, it's called parcel number, but internally it always knows that in fact means the parcel hash.
Correct.
Okay, so you get to rename. You can decide on your display names for things.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the workflow of that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty common with a lot of different software that I use.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so now we've got these sources. Now the actual entities themselves that have been brought in. If we go to entities, we'd say let's look at the entity types. Let's look at the buildings. We can run a filter here if we want to, but we won't bother. We just show all buildings, and these are all the buildings. So these are the ones that have been brought into the system, either in bulk or. And so here's an example building. This building, what's the order listing date, Maricopa. So, and you can actually edit the data in here.
Oh, cool.
Right back at the source if you want to. So, property name CenturyLink Tower. Should that have a space in it, for example?
Yeah.
Okay, so there we are. We just, and save that. And is the address right? So this is, in fact, interesting enough, the one you wanted to modify.
Right. Yeah. So that's So that would be the right street address. Yeah.
So that's the street number. And what the problem is that our lat long is in the wrong place for it, perhaps. Or no, the building is correct. CenturyLink Tower. So
right. Yeah. The street address is correct. It's just the icon is in the wrong place and the picture is wrong.
Right. Let's have a look here. I'm just opening this. So is that the CenturyLink Tower?
That is not the CenturyLink Tower.
Right. So that's the problem. That's what's happened internally. So
yeah. This is 2901 North Central. It's not 20 West Thomas.
Right. So this is a data entry issue. So we'll go and fix that while we're here. We'll show you how to fix that. So what you see what I did here. So we have this building that's been brought into the system.
Right.
And it gets its unique ID, a barcode. So you could actually print that barcode out in future apps, put it on the building, and the real estate agent, when he goes there, can just click on that QR code with a little mobile device potentially in future and get all the data about the building from your system.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. So just as a listener, so it's a way that they're not sort of typing search trying to find that. If they go to the building that they're going to, they can either take a printout of that, and just click on it when they get there, or maybe someone leaves it on an intro in the document. And so it's just a link, an electronic link back to all this information. So levels of detail, we've only got one, which is the 3D model. There are no attachments or comments on that yet, but we can see that in the GeoS. So this is all of your background information for that entity. So attachment types, marketing relations. We don't need to go too much into that. That's more advanced. The files, just a list of all the files that have been brought into the system, 26 pages of them. Again, you probably don't need to go there. View styles. So view styles are where we change the way that things look in the system. So let's have a look now at project views, which we'll reference. So we'll go back to our demo one, and when we see in demo, this is our menu here.
Right.
Yep. Let's actually first of all just go to let's go to one of these bookmarks, 3D Phoenix. So you understand how bookmarks work, right?
Right.
You turn on and off what you want, navigate, and you turn things on. So you'll see at the moment that we have Cyber City 3D buildings. and this is what they look like. And if we go to the menu in here, we go menu, and we see Cyber City buildings. Yeah, and this menu is constructed by saying, add. At any point down here, we can add. You'll see add down the bottom, add that line, and you just shuffle them about. And when you add it, it'll say, what's your caption? What's the action that you want to do? Do you want to load a Bruce entity or load a cesium ion stream or an ArcGeostat? So that's not ready yet. That's on its way. So just these two at the moment. So we're going to load an ion stream. And so we say, well, okay, we're going to load a stream of, cesium type entities, a stream, which are, and we're going, when we load them, we want them to be associated to be a building in this case, because they're Cyber City 3D buildings. And in the legend, we're going to indicate that they're 3D models. And what is the tile set that we want to load? Well, it's a Phoenix, Arizona is the only one available for this account.
Okay. Yeah.
And the default style when we load them is if they're a point, if the data for these things is a point, I want them to be size 10, let's say, point. If it's a polygon, I want them to look like this. If it's a polyline, I want it to look like this. And if it's a 3D model, I want it to look like this. That being the default fill color.
Okay.
So, we could change that slightly. You'll see a slight change there, or maybe it's that color. And we save it. So that's the default color for now for loading that menu item. So when I click on that menu item, if I refresh here, you'll see that the buildings have that color. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to put it back to what it was. I think it was more of a...
Hey, Lawrence, all this is being recorded as well.
Great.
Yeah, so we'll close and we'll save. And we'll refresh that and we'll get back to something closer to what it was in there. Okay, so now if I turn those off and turn that on, this is now turning on the same buildings, but with a different set of rules. So you see some buildings are colored. So if we look at this one, this is CC buildings by color by property type. You see this?
Yes.
And so now you'll see something in here. So we've added, instead, as well as having a default color, we've added, using this tool, add, from a field value, and we can choose a field value. We'll say, what's one of the fields, that the street range or the zip code or the year, and so forth. I won't actually do that, but that's how we added these mappings. So we added that, and so we have a mapping where we say the field, entity, property, subtype. If the field value, if that field value is class A, make it that color. If it's class B, make it that color. If it's class C, make it that color. Yeah?
Yeah.
And you can have gradients and so forth. So that is what determines the color of these buildings. So if I do my click on it, and interesting enough, we don't have the class of building is not in the summary. We could add that as an exercise. So let's perhaps do that. So that is, if I click on it, that is a building, sure enough. And if we go to entity types, building, to custom forms, to the auto form, building summary pop-up, here we are. We will add another item, a data value, please select, and property subtype, and we'll move it to, let's move it up to here, at the top. Yeah?
Okay.
Save. So now, let's see what happens when I click on that. Property subtype.
Great.
And so that's why it's colored that color. And that will be a different one. That's a class B. And so on. You know, we go down here and we see different colors again. A, B, and C. This will be class A, class C, and so on. If you change the class of it, it will change the color. Yeah?
Yep.
So that's what's going on when we go to, you know, we have the Phoenix listings. We'll come back down to here. Then we go to, you know, the closer up here, and we're seeing the colored buildings. That's all that's happening. Any questions about that?
Nope. Seems pretty straightforward.
Okay. Now, this is the area that we wanted to fix.
Right. So
Okay.
this blue building here
Yep.
is not the listing. The one to the right of it is. And yeah, the corner of Thomas and 2nd Street.
Right. So the way that this was put together is that this object here, you see this icon?
Yeah.
That is actually not a building. It's a listing data point.
Okay.
All right. So it was brought in, and then what happened was that someone said, okay, here's all of these listing data points. So if we go now and have a look at a listing data point, and this is one of the fundamental things in terms of working out how you work this, is that this has its own data schema, which looks very much like a building data schema. And what's happened is we simply borrowed that for what represents the building. So these have come in as points because this data was in the form of, you know, a building, an ID, an address, and that's it. That's how the listing data came in. So that listing data, we needed to do what's called a geocoding of the address to get the lat long.
Right.
And so in the spreadsheet, we ran a geocoding, added the data to the spreadsheet, which said, you know, here's the lat long point. Oops, just keep going. Here's the location, you know, if we look at any particular one of this particular point. And so when it was brought in, we had to say, well, what is it? Well, it didn't know that it was a building. It was just a point. And so that's what we're seeing here is a whole bunch of points. And then someone says, well, let's load the Cyber City models, and we'll go around and we'll find every point that is an NKF listing, and we'll copy the data from, which I'll do is a control, remember our control click?
Yeah.
So we'll copy the data from here to the data from on here. So you see what's happening. Someone's come along, they're going, well, oh, that listing has arrived there instead of there. And they said, well, that's the closest building. So manually said, that's the closest building, so it must be that one. We'll put all of that data into here.
Right.
Okay, so in fact, that icon, the address lookup, you know, this is just a fault, obviously, with the reverse geocoding or something like that, you know, that it wasn't quite accurate enough, and it's put it there instead of there. So the first thing that we can do is to click on this object with control click. We could add, should add the more button to that, but anyway, control click gets us there. Settings, and literally we'll just slide that guy over there.
Oh, easy enough.
Yeah, and save that. And then the next thing to do, unfortunately, is probably to copy. You know, so I'm going to go Control C. We'll actually create a second instance of the whole site. So on a dual screen monitor, this might be easier. We pick up that one. So that data there has to be copied onto that data.
Right.
And it's a case of, copy, and that's the most manual method of doing it. But it's literally, I just have to go through and type in CenturyLink Tower. So, we'll do a couple of the fields. Control C, Control V.
Right.
Yeah. And we'll come up with some easy ways to do this in future, but this is literally, the issue. That's what's happened. And so, when we, click on, let's see that one, fix, that's not the CenturyLink Tower, that's, something else.
Right.
But anyway, we go down here, street number. You just type, don't even have to copy, street range 20, and so on. Thomas Road. We'll add. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So now in the system, that is there. If I click on it, we'll get the summary. It's a Class B building. There's no photo. We can actually add the photo in here as well if we like. You see Class B. So we'd go to Media, and actually we can go through this process. So you know how to obviously go to the internet and get a photo of a building.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's just see if I've got. I'm sorry, I'm just on the other screen at the moment. I'll see if I've got Phoenix Media. Yeah, here we are. So I've got a bunch of Media Renaissance Square. We've got Central Link. Here we are. So that's actually the correct photo for the.
No, that's the photo of the other building.
Right. Okay. So let's fix that. Right. Well, yeah. So we'll go Century, and I think Link Tower, Phoenix. Images. Yeah, I think this is what's come up. You see, you got
yeah, it's the one on the. Yeah, it's that one.
Yes. Should we use that one? Yeah. Okay.
That one, or the one on the second. Yeah, either one.
Yeah, we'll use this one. Sure. Yeah. So we save image as, and oh, great. So that's actually the Central Link Tower. We'll call that 2 for whatever. Anyway, save, yes, yeah. And so now we bring up the photos and videos, the media, and CenturyLink Tower. That's where is it? The CenturyLink Tower 2. There it is. So drag and drop. Sorry. Drag and drop image. Oh, I think my login has disallowed that. I'll check it. We had that same issue before, but I'll check that. You literally just need to drag and drop that into there. I'm sorry, I think permissions have been altered on this one, so I can't do it. But I will. That's the process anyway to add the photo. Just double check. Yeah. But I think I've got been turned off from that. So by the time you do it, it'll that's been turned off for me. But that's the process of adding that media. Now, and down, so we've got partial correction, and I could leave you, if you want to, add your own, information here, and update it yourself, or we can update it for you. But that was what was involved in fixing that data, so to speak. Is that easy enough?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. Next thing. So you know how to operate. Let's see. The find will. If we go to navigation and see if find. So in find, there's a lot more coming here, Lawrence, where you can do this, right? So go find a building within the camera area, or
Okay.
you know, within a selected circle.
Okay.
And I don't. Yeah, that's not quite finished. I just use it in the camera. This is the beta one. You won't even see these options here. This is click, grow, but for the moment it just, you know, it operates within the camera. So if you want to see more, you zoom out or, you know, whatever.
Right.
And it shows. So I'm going to add a criteria. We're going to say let's find all the buildings where the agent company name includes, and you can click on there to see what are the options in the data. Newmarket, Knight Frank. And we'll search, and there's 14 items now, so it's now reduced that. So these are all of the Newmarket Knight Frank. So if I turn off my listings and search again, we'll just get the ones with Newmarket Knight Frank.
Oh, okay, cool.
And they've got the logo. And then the reason that they come up like that is because that's the default icon in the style for them. And if we click on that, sure enough, the agent is Newmarket Knight Frank. And you know, what's the action? And so it's loaded. So this allows you, and then you could actually add a criterion where the available space direct is greater than or equal. In fact, there's not a lot of, the range has not been, the data's not good in there. So we'll actually remove that. We'll try add criterion available space. Available space overall, yeah, is equal to or is greater than, 42. So that's not meaning in this particular range. So, you know, it's greater than 2,000 or something like that in search. And there's none on that list in this particular area, but there might be somewhere else. So we zoom out, you know, we might find more elsewhere. But that's how the search will work. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
And have a think about how else you know, you'd like that to working.
Right.
Let's go down to so here, the Camelback listing. So we found that, and we said, well, okay, found the, you know, the listing, and that's, you know, we just made a bookmark here to say this was, you know, where we found some listings in Camelback. We zoomed in, you know, save that bookmark. You just save and give it a name, and it will make the bookmark here. And that bookmark, we said, well, okay, to show it with, you know, that base map and so on. And then we made another one, which is to zoom up to the Camelback Tower, and we have this building and a floor of this building which have been uploaded by drag and drop into the scene. So any questions about that so far?
Not so far.
Okay, so in here, you know, we can navigate around and we can use some of these tools. So, you know, down here, let's have a look at the navigation. This navigation rotates. That may change. We'll rotate it about the center of the screen in future, but for the moment, you know, that's how the navigation works, you know, for less experienced users, or reset north, you know, and then pan, that type of thing. Tilt up and down, zoom in and out. And sometimes you'll see, you know, just a refresh as it goes to different levels of detail. The street view you've seen now, that's been moved down here. You click down here and it pops up. Sometimes you get a little advertisement down the bottom. You can get rid of that. And this, you know, this, you can get rid of that. And then, you know, you can see, you know, just a refresh as it goes to different levels of detail. The street view you've seen now, that's been moved down here. You click down here and it pops up. Sometimes you get a little advertisement down the bottom. You can get rid of that. This lets you go to the Street View mode, yeah, and maps and so forth. And you've also got this walk fly mode. So when you click on that, it invites you to click a starting. So you can click, let's click a point on the building there, and we fly to it, and then we can use the mouse to, to move around. So we're just, it's like a game, and you can use your keyboard to adjust, your eye height and things like that.
Right.
And look around, see what's going on, and then exit out of there. At any point, you can go back to your standard viewing. Now the other one, I think there's the pull apart mode that you like. So anytime you want to sort of move one of the uploaded buildings, and it only works on the uploaded buildings, you can use this pull apart mode. So in this particular one, there's a floor inside here.
Right.
And you can click on that floor and in the pull apart mode and literally drag that out like that, just click and drag. So this is a case, and I would recommend finding, for wherever you get new listings and so forth, if you can track back and build a relationship with the architects to get copies of any CAD files.
Right.
That would be, otherwise it's a service job to build, more or less detailed model like this, of a building, and for us to add it in. Now, you might want to engage your own crew to build these models and add them in, or you might want us to do it.
Right.
To start off with,
yeah, and that's I think there will be some of that. I'm not sure how much. But that's it's a case by case basis depending on marketing purposes.
Yeah, sure. And let's see some of these other buttons up here. Shadows, you turn off. You get higher performance without shadows, so just be aware of that as you get more performance. But shadows, are quite nice, just to add a little bit more feel to it.
I think the shadows are great when you're generating like reports and screenshots, or you're just going to stay static. What I found sometimes is when I'm way back and I turn on the shadows, the graphics card complains.
Yeah, it depends on the different computers and so forth. So just be aware of that, Lawrence. That the shadows add weight to and performance issues to it. So you just turn it on and off. Most of these actually have been saved with the bookmarks. So the bookmarks remember whether you had shadows on or off when you saved the bookmark.
Right. So it doesn't just go back to default settings. It keeps whatever settings you have.
Correct. Yeah. So not all settings, but remember, for example, whether you have shadows on, and also you've got this timeline, which is important for shadows as well. So when we display the timeline, this is actually going to display the shadows as per the actual time and day of the year. So that's the shadows as they would be at that date. You can actually zoom into that, bar. And so this is at, somewhere like what looks like about 4:15 on May the 29th, 2019. That's how the shadows will look.
Right.
And often you just want to get them looking nice, and then you save the bookmark, and it remembers the time and date and the fact that shadows are on. But you might want to turn that timeline off because it'll remember that the timeline's on in the bookmark. Yeah. So anyway, that gives you the idea there. But at any time, the way you set the bookmark is you just turn things on and on, that you on and off, and save the bookmark as you go. So down in Scott's back, Camelback, we've gone through here. So I don't know if you've played with the new markups. With this walkability score, if we do that, we just get a walk score, which is temporary. So you click a point on the map, it'll give a walk score, and so forth. But it's not permanent. If we turn it off, it goes off. However, if at any point you go into a markup, we're now in markup mode.
Mm-hmm.
And in the markup mode, we can, free draw lines, draw text boxes, draw callouts, add an image. It does. You're going to have multiple images now in one callout, with the sections as you asked. You control the colours, arrowheads. We've currently got those 3 arrowhead types. Let us know if you want those adjusted in some way, and we'll have a look at that. So if we draw let's draw a call out or a text box first. We'll add you just draw a box, type in it text, and you can change this. Always affects the whole box color. This is text. This is the background. We might want to do something like that. So this is text. This is the margin size, for the text. The border radius, if you want, round or colors, border colors, close. Palettes are not done yet, so you just have to remember your standard settings. But you do get to duplicate that. So if you're doing lots of them, you can just duplicate that box, and it will create another identical one with the same settings.
That's great.
Text align. So there's still work in progress. Keep the little suggestions coming as to things that you'd like to see and hear, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. So we've built a text box now, so we can move it around. So there it is there, and it's floating in the world. And so if any time we draw lines, we could draw a line, and then it brings up attachment points to a text box. So I can now draw a line which goes down to a specific object. So that's now connected to the 3D world.
Right.
Okay. And if I click off it, click offline. Oh, by the way, while we're there, you can also do this now.
Nice.
You remember you wanted, the square.
Right.
Yeah. So you've got that option. You've got that option as well, and you can change the color of the line. Maybe it's a yellow line. I don't know. Close. And delete the shape and change the thickness and so on, and back to select, and when now I can't, while I'm in markup mode, unless I specifically navigate, I can't I can't move around. It's designed to go back to that view, so that's
right.
Return to camera position, reset, and so forth. But we can, in fact, navigate in here. So if I want to draw a 3D polygon, so say I wanted to highlight that building, now I'm in polygon mode, I can zoom in, I can rotate, and I'm going to click, 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 and it starts drawing a polygon. So I'm now drawing a polygon which highlights that building, and you'll see the polygon comes up. I click on it, I can change the color of it to be red, for example. And the extruded height, outline color, maybe that's bright red, close, and the outline width, the extruded height. We can actually have extruded height. Not sure why that should be extruding it now. Not sure why maybe that's saved. Do we want to highlight the object or not? The buildings with it, and put that away and enter. So now we've got properties of those. We've got polylines. You can draw a line, on the ground. Same issue. Enter. Adjust. I have a feeling my permissions have been set for limiting some of my editing, so I'll have to go check the development on that and make sure it's right for you. And we return to the camera position, and at that point we then hit save or not, or we simply leave the markup and we, confirm. Do you want to leave without saving? Confirm. Yep.
Yep.
Now, at this point, if you want to make a high resolution capture for print, we can press on the capture screenshot. Generally, this depends on the computer. It's beta. We're still working out. There's resources on different computers that allow different sizes to be made. On my computer, right, I can get up here. On some computers, you can't get past 1. It's to do with RAM, and we're still trying to resolve it. So that's why it's still got beta on it at the moment, I'm afraid. So it's just a case of, on your computer, test out what works.
Right, and I think generally speaking, we look for around 300 DPI.
That's just 2 times, yeah.
Okay.
On 300. So when you say 300 DPI, you mean on A4?
Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, a letter size, on letter size.
Right.
Yeah, because the DPI is different depending on the print actual physical size, dots per inch. But yeah, for a letter size 300 DPI, you'll only need 2 times.
Right. And we might need more than that depending on what we're printing, but generally 300 DPI for letters is sufficient.
Yeah, and you can go here. I mean, I've done this one 4 times, 3 times. That's an image size of 6,700 by. I mean, that's a very high resolution image. Right.
And I think more the megabytes might be the bottleneck more than the DPI.
And that's where I suggest, the megabytes is not really a measure of quality. It's a complex issue, but JPEG is going to be slightly compressed, but not so that you would ever know, if you know what I mean. And the megabyte difference is enormous. So that's the PNG of that, I think, is about 35 megabytes.
Right.
The JPEG, I think, is about 4 or 5 megabytes. And you would not be able to tell the quality difference. And they are the same DPI. So that's just a format. So JPEG is just a compressed format. Print people get all wound up about this JPEG versus PNG, but just nod your head and.
That's generally what I do.
It's not well-informed concern, shall we say. There's a lot more to the issue. I would say, if they really insist, give them a PNG, but say, hey, it's going to be big. That's just the way it is. It's but I would say they'd be perfectly happy with the JPEG. So 4 times, let's say do a 4 times JPEG. Shadows we can turn on. Do we want to enable shadows? And these just take longer to do, and soft shadows and the shadow size. We can wind it right up, to this type of thing. We'll just wind it back to here. It doesn't seem to make much difference over about 32, their shadow size. And the other extra is markup separate. This is coming into, so we're creating a separate markup render to the background render, so you can choose to have more flexibility and join them together. So there's more coming there, but so I wouldn't bother with that just at the moment. And the tile quality, this sets, so as you get closer and closer to the 3D view, you're going to get higher and higher quality tiles. So if you're going to render at high resolution, you want to pretend that you're actually zoomed up much more, but it affects the size of the text and so forth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So a little bit of experimenting here is a good idea. We'll just go to tile quality 4 and we'll take a screenshot. So that's now loading. It's going to, so it's got to do a bunch of calculations. So it's now loading tiles, to the right resolution for, all of our settings. And this takes a while. And it's preparing a capture to see how we loading tiles. So it's done. There we go. Setting up shadows and things, and here we go. It's created this screenshot. But you'll see this is at screen. But if we zoom up, this is the resolution, zoomed right up.
Right.
And so that's you can see, at A4, that's going to print pretty nicely.
Great.
So, and that takes, a little bit of experimentation, and be aware that you might get, if you overstretch, those parameters, you might, it'll go crash, and it'll just say, a nice friendly reminder, just refresh your browser and try a lower setting. So there we are. And so same sort of thing, we just, different views. This was just showing off, I just recreated one of your views here with the different style of markups and so forth. Down here, Renaissance view. So this, I don't know whether you want to get into this sort of side of colorization yet, but so all of this data here on these floors, again, these are buildings. If you want us to build, buildings with full sets of floors and breakups, we can either show you guys how to do it or, what have you, but ultimately we click on it, we get more, and there's data we made up, what is a floor, what's the information about a floor that's useful, and we said, that's the percent leased, that's the dollar per square foot for it, and we've got for floors, if we have a look at what's clicked, we've got floors that are, percent leased. Yeah, and this we just drew that up in PowerPoint. So you take a screenshot of the. So we go to menu.
Hey Lawrence, this is Kevin. When you're doing advisory services like these floors, and you're trying to create leasing information, do the brokers sit with you when you do this, or do you sit with Rachel? How does that thought process go in terms of designing content?
It's both. It's a little bit of a give and take to what would work depending on who the client is and what they're looking for. Sometimes that changes pretty quickly. But
sometimes development.
Right. Sometimes it's templated. Sometimes it's on the fly. Sometimes the broker has a grand vision of how he wants it to look. So it's not really a tried and true process. So it could change depending on the project.
Okay, because what we want to try to do is, the first thing is create the 3D tour, this 3D tour map, your base map. That's like the first project,
right?
And like we talked about, and then we're gonna sit down with you're gonna sit down with the brokers, and you're gonna go, this is what we got. Now this is what we can do, and then we can get into the reserve and tower, Camelback Tower, and any other area that there's this add-on investment you make, but you can do it with this software. So we're in this for an hour and a half now. Have we covered everything you right now that we can cover, or because I've recorded all this, so I'll send everybody a recording. But is there more? I don't know how much longer, how you guys are for time.
I think we've probably, if I could suggest, probably covered enough in an hour and a half that, Paul Lawrence's brain would bursting, and it's a case now of going and trying this stuff, falling over, tripping up, finding problems, coming back, and saying, look, I'm stuck here. What's going on here? And Lawrence, please, if you be patient while you learn and we learn, about how we work together, but we will be right there for you to try and figure out issues, problems, and we want to take notes about changes and things that you want to do. So, don't despair if you can't figure something out. We'll figure it out with you.
Great.
Lawrence, I'm sending an email out to Kathleen.
Okay.
So I got to run out today, unfortunately, but I'm going to be around all day tomorrow, so I'll have that call with her.
Great.
Okay. And I will be around tomorrow. I'll call you tomorrow. We'll kind of catch up. I think that's Saturday, New Zealand time. But what I want to try to do is, have you start activating activities, doing things on the site. Are we going to use this as the sandbox, Mark?
Yes, I think so. But what I would suggest, in fact, if I could pass you the screen, Lawrence, just for a moment, is the last thing. Oh, actually, Alex, do you need to do that? You need to hit present, Lawrence, and
do I just make Lawrence the presenter?
Yeah. I just want to make sure Lawrence can log in, and then show Lawrence where to, have it, where to do the, the setup, the sandbox. So.
Okay.
You're the presenter now, Lawrence.
Okay, yeah. So let's see. Does that work?
There we go.
Right. So perfect. Okay. So what I would suggest there, Lawrence, is that you go new under project views, and have an ID which is I don't know, training or test one, or your sandbox, something like that. Just something to see. Yeah. Training one. So maybe you want. NKF training one, so you got the option of having 2 and 3 and 4.
Okay.
Yeah, and no, don't put the in the so NIDs, it doesn't like special characters as a rule, so don't have any spaces. Yeah, no, it's just they actually work, but the rules are so common. It's better to just assume that you can't have anything special, just no spaces, and you can use underscores.
Gotcha.
Now you can give it a nice friendly name.
All right. Whatever.
Yeah, and you can change that anytime. So hit save up on the top right. Look, and always look for the little message saying we're good. Okay, so now if you click, close that last blade, yeah, that's it. And you see NK project views, so select on it. That's it. So now we're going to set up, you've got no menu, so maybe the first thing you want to do is go to the view options. And so now, so you can drag and so you go up there. This is where you can find a nice logo that you want to represent, at the top of the system. For NKF, you can just hit change and drag and drop in there. In that, if you want to. Well, let's not do it now, but you can do it there.
Right.
Go down. If you scroll down, you may want to turn on and off, these background options. So I would turn most of them off and just turn on only the ones that you want to use in the Bing Maps, and then set what's your default. And default terrain, you probably want to set to cesium, world terrain. Yeah. That's all good. Using Chrome. What browser are you using?
This is Internet Explorer.
Right. My recommendation is to use Chrome if you've got it.
Okay.
Turn off Lin's terrain. Turn off Shanghai. You don't want those in your one.
I probably don't need natural Earth or Earth at night.
Yes. Yeah. There's a whole lot there. You do that later. You can come back in time. But hit save. Yeah. So scroll down. Save, and you can scroll down. You go back to view menu. There's a few more options down below. There's your highlight color. Yeah, that's your standard highlight color. Do you want to force a login to be required for someone to go there? And the static camera and the shadows, those are not quite connected yet, but they will be shortly. So those are hard-coded at the moment. So yeah, there's your basic view options. And let's add your first menu item, perhaps. And so add a menu item. And so just click on it. So just click on the menu item you've now created. That's it. Now over there, the caption that you want to give it might be Phoenix 3D Cyber City models, or Phoenix Cyber City models, or whatever you mean. Yeah, and then enable an action. Load cesium ion stream.
Okay.
Entity type, you want to be a building. Because it's referring to everything you've already got in this account. And so show in the legend that it's a 3D model, probably. Okay, and the 3D tile set is Phoenix. You only have one option there anyway, and save that. So save that. Oh, you could go to default style if you want to give them your own special color. Go to default style. This style will be moving around a little bit in future, just to warn you. So go to 3D model, because they're 3D models. Oh, sorry, you're right there. Down.
Where am I going?
3D model. You'll see. There's an icon up.
Oh, well, here we go. Okay.
Yeah, because each one has its own set of customizations. So don't worry about the LOD category. It's not so customize, because it's and so just change the fill color. Change it to a pale. Generally, you go to a much lower saturation, lighter colors. Generally good. But you can have anything you like. I wouldn't recommend transparency. That kind of looks a bit funky with the models, but you can make them a light red. Yeah, that's fine. And this is just the default color, and you can override them with with data. So you go add, and when you do that, you've got to remember that you might add a whole bunch of criteria for colorizing this model, but because the default color is at the top, it will always do that first. So it works down the list. So you've got to make sure that if you add, so you go add there. Yeah, so based on a field value or table mapping or whatever, if you add, so a field value, for example, and then you click on that, that's it, and you choose what field value do you want to do based on, and this is where you go property subtype or submarket, or, maybe it's, and so you can colorize by that. Now you click on the field. Oh yes, sorry, you don't want field value there. Remove that. Remove that. You want a table value for what we're doing here. So add table mapping. Okay, and then the field you choose might be submarket. Okay, and now you go, what's the field value?
Right.
And you just keep adding. So it's Scottsdale. You type in the field value Scottsdale, and then you give it a color. Type in if the field value is this, give it a color. If the field value is this, give it a color, and close that. Okay, so close that just for a moment. You can come back. So let's not do it now, but but then you've got to make sure. See how you've got that. You want to make sure that you drag and drop that submarket above the default color. Oh, sorry, use the tab at the end to drag. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not dragging.
It's not dragging.
Not dragging.
Not dragging? That may be an Internet Explorer thing. I better check that. If you go to Chrome, that'll drag.
Okay.
So I think that's a good note for me to notice. But otherwise, what happens is the default will always be red.
Right.
Even regardless of what you do, that's confused people. So I'm just walking you through. So you've got it now. Save it. You've got a default color. You can come back and edit this later. So you've just created your very first environment. So if you now go back to project views, slide at the bottom back to that's it, project views. Go to test and click it. There's your URL. So click on the URL. Okay. Okay. And there you go. So now you might want to go hit search and go to Phoenix at the top. So we've got to say fly to. Sorry, there's left. That's it.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, and just type in Phoenix. Phoenix, Arizona. Here we go. And I would now make a bookmark to start off. So go on the left. That's it. And oh, now you're not logged in. Go down the bottom. Sorry, you'll see down the very bottom. You've got to make sure you're logged in. So log in with your same password you've. I wonder if it'll take you back to Phoenix. Yes, it has. So at least build a bookmark there, which you can adjust later. Now you're in Phoenix. Hit save.
Hitting save. Not saving.
Not saving. Can you just go, I wonder if it's an IE issue, could you just go from that URL and have you got Chrome on your computer?
Yeah.
Yeah, just try, just see if it's that. Yeah, just open up Chrome and just copy that URL into Chrome. I'll make a note of that. We haven't done much testing at all in IE, honestly. Pretty much everything's been run under Chrome. So it's interesting to maybe shut down the IE one, so just for...
Yeah. Okay.
And
go to bookmarks. There are no bookmarks.
log in. You got to log in.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's going to be a bit of patience as these things, like any new software. I'm sorry. There's
right.
Getting to learn something. There's going to be oh god, I don't know. Actually, there you go. Save and click on that, and let's just see if it's working for you there.
Save. Why isn't it saving? Oh,
there
bookmark title. There we go. All right. So,
you got two of them. I like it. You can always delete one, but of course, and you can modify and move around that bookmark, and then just that one there, edit, and then remove, and you can update and add bookmarks.
Right.
So now you're set up. You've got it. You can change your base map. You can zoom in and out, resave. So maybe now go to your menu on your left, up top left, and click on Phoenix CC3D model.
I doubt there's going to be anything around this area.
No, you might. It'll be. Yeah, let's go to the.
Let's go to downtown. So there's downtown.
There we go. All right, so maybe save that as your bookmark, and you'll see you've got, it's a pretty intense color. That's what I say. No, don't hit save there. Yeah, wait till you get the bookmark. Now slide over to your bookmark, and then there's an icon. No, not there.
Okay.
So hover go back to bookmarks. On Phoenix, just hover your mouse over the actual bookmark Phoenix. Right, now top right, there's a little save icon.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So that's now updated.
All right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you want to add markup, you hit the little N button for markup. Now you see the markup menu.
Yep. So we'll do a text box here.
So that's it. There you go.
Is there a way to center this?
Yeah. Click on the you were almost there. Click on that.
Gotcha. Beautiful.
And then you got your all that. Now that's it. Yeah, font color, all that.
Yeah, that's good. Outline color.
Yeah, and transparency. So you might want to change the transparency, but yeah, that's it. Close. Yeah.
All right.
Now, you don't have to do. No. You don't want to confirm. You cancel. You just click off it.
There we go. Yeah, okay.
You basically what you do is you just save. Now you might want to draw a line pointed down to Chase Field. There you go. That's it. Just click off it. You've done that, and so you save the whole markup at once. Where you can hit the save button up the top right anytime. Yep, and that's added to the bookmark.
Awesome. Why isn't it?
So what's happening is you've got select you've got line. So select offline and go back to regular select.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so you're on select now, so you can reselect the line if you want to. That's it, and so adjust your settings up the top there for the line, arrowhead style, the thickness, the color, the angles, arrowhead, and and there's that shape. Yeah, you can make the line different, and yeah, if you want the little square lines, you point on that little triangle at the end of the. That's it. So you save that, and you're.
Say that again.
If you want to have those square things, you select on the line.
Right.
Okay. No, you can hit the select button because sorry, go to the arrow up the top, left, that's it.
Gotcha.
Select the line, and then you'll see this little angle button. That's it. So click on that.
Oh, okay.
And then you can move the attachment point of that line to a different place if you want to. So the little blue dot down the bottom, you could move it to the center, that one, or the one above it, or yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And then so then.
And then you've got direct call-outs, which, work. They're just a kind of a shortcut for making those. You click on an object, drag up, and create your call-out, drag and drop an image, and so on. And you can put an image inside of those things. You can experiment away. Anyway, so there you are. You've created your first
pop-up. Nice.
Yeah. And bookmark one, and you're starting to tell a story. So have a go there. I'll have a look into a couple of issues that came up through there, and
yeah.
Good luck. Yeah, just please report in any ideas, bugs, and so forth as you go. And
we'll do.
Okay.
Great, guys. Hey,
sounds great.
Thanks, everyone. Good first day. Next thing, Lawrence, you might want to bring in, I think the extrusions, the OSM buildings and all that stuff maybe would be the next thing you'd load in just to make sure you have all your full building coverage. But then you can decide how you want to organize those buildings. Do you want to have them all as one big set? Do you want to separate them? This will be your holding tank, right, for your base map. And then from there you can build different projects.
Well, and those are already in there. So all of those footprints that are in the demo, version, they're all available here for you. It's all part of the account already. So, if you want to add to this menu, Scottsdale footprints or building
or
footprints,
Tempe or whatever.
They're all there. They're all there already. So you don't.
And you can, and for the ones without heights, you can actually add heights. Or if you have already have heights, you'll just incorporate those heights.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. So the Tempe things that should have had LiDAR data associated with it, those are extruded already? Yeah.
So if you go, I mean, if you want to add them now, you could add them in a moment, just with that admin, just so go to admin in there, and, do you want to do that over the phone now, or do you want to just keep playing and come back to us?
Yeah, I think I'll just play around and see if I can figure that out. Okay.
Now, Lawrence, just a heads up, I'm going in next week for a bit of surgery, so I'm going to be offline for a few days.
Okay.
Nothing too serious, but my hip's finally given out.
Oh boy!
So,
all that sitting at the computer.
No, it was actually an injury to my knee. So I get the knee. That was an old injury back in the 20s. When I badly injured my knee, and then it's gradually created a problem all the way up. So,
ouch!
It's got to get it.
When's the surgery?
So, it's Tuesday New Zealand time, Monday US time.
Oh, so you're out all day Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yeah, I don't know what state I'll be in after. It's a general. It's a replacement. So
yeah,
I don't know quite how I'll be. That week. I'll get back in as soon as I can. But meanwhile, you've got Alex. Alex and
Great.
You and Peter. So you have plenty of support there. If you need to.
Okay, good. I've got this recorded. I'll send you guys the link to the recording.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, thanks everyone. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Best wishes, Mark.
Thank you, Lawrence. I appreciate that.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.